To actually have to build something to solve the problem cheaply, which I think for many of the problems these students have to solve is build me something, show me something. That's what you're trying to raise support from. You've got to show me something. Sales skills, students say. How do I actually package a sale? Even if I'm not making a profit, how do I get this to the top of the pile and somebody to say yes? I think there's probably a minefield of raising money from foundations and NGOs and governments. I'm not very good at it. I'm very good at it from foundations, but NGOs and governments, that's not a skill. But it's a skill set I would think a student would absolutely positively need to navigate around all of that bureaucratic crap. Finding out who else in this world is solving this problem. Where do opinion leaders meet? How do I get myself known? How do I get buy-in politically and support? Because our philosophy is you throw them in a pool and you see if you can swim or you sink. And it's a real tough. My sense is the more I'm dealing in this area, it's a really tough world to raise support and get above. It's so crowded. And that's the challenge even if you're building for-profit businesses, to get the attention of the VC. It's exactly the same. To try and raise money from the foundation. Exactly the same kind of thing.
I developed a course called Entrepreneurship Skills, and it ties into the concept of developing them as a value proposition. And we're developing those skills, negotiation skills, communication, and networking in addition to those that you mentioned.
That's sustainable model. This is something I'm talking about. Melissa is how do you build a sustainable model, which is a business logic.
Sustainability, replication, impact. Those are, right.
Yeah, and one of the things I haven't heard yet, I'm sure it's here, and that is we haven't talked about the demand side.
But it relates to the research. I was part of a symposium that was held almost 2 years ago now at the University of Arizona. It was a grant from the Kauffman Foundation. And what they did was they brought in the top technology, Office of Technology managers from major universities around the country to get together to discuss how do you determine social return on investment from university IP. And it was 2.5 days, intense meetings. At the end of 2.5 days, they could not agree on anything. It was the most frustrating experience I think I've had in I don't know how many years. But the point is, that's where we need to be doing the research. I mean, because there are people that are looking at that. How do you really? I mean, we know you can qualify return on investment, and we understand that from social value. But how do you quantify it? How do you really extract that and put a dollar figure on that social return? I mean, very difficult to do. And those of you who are kind of tinkering in there, there are formulas for determining social return on investment. They'll drive you crazy. It's like, the formulas they use for evaluation of companies. I mean, they're all over the place. But I think that's really where the research needs to be. And we need to engage people that are respected in their field to start coming up with metrics that are meaningful.
What you're saying is 100% right. However, we're a society of how do we get benefit today within a year or 2 years.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that we're looking and doing and providing, whether it's to students, to government, or to university itself, even university looks at what you're doing and saying, what is the benefit today? Am I seeing it within my budget year? They're not looking down 2 years, 5 years down the line what the student can
I know, that's a
do.
big part of the problem. But the point is, if you're going to get universities to invest in their IP, they're looking at the bottom line. I mean, they're looking at the economic return on that. They're not looking at social return. Until we can start to include that in the formula, we're not going to have that kind of support.
To me personally, it all comes down to whether you're doing social entrepreneurship or whatever you're doing, is what is the benefit to everybody involved? What is the benefit to government? What is the benefit to the school? What is the benefit to the student? And they measure it in monetary terms, not into benefits, I've helped a bunch of African kids get drugs. No, what did I get out of passing drugs to these African kids? Until you do that, you're never going to see eye to eye.
I'm on a small campus of 3,000. We recently changed the campus mission, which before said, in my case, because I direct continuing studies, provide a wide variety of continuing education. That's not in our mission anymore. Our mission is to increase the economic and cultural vitality of the region. Making that statement, which I put that mission statement on the top of any document that I send forward about the ways in which we are seeking to fulfill our mission. So I can put the work that we're doing in entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, into the context of fulfilling the mission. We're not an entrepreneurial campus. The Harvard model is every tub on its own bottom. The Yale model is Yale, meaning that if the Yale Divinity School only has one student, they'll still support it because that's what they do. We're sort of on that model. It has its deficits, but it also means that we can have a lot of inter-unit collaboration. I can collaborate with other schools because we don't have to talk about who's making or losing money in the proposition of the transaction. So that works well for us. And for me, coming out of the not-for-profit arena before, mission is always first and foremost. We're mission-driven, market-sensitive. The old adage, martyrs don't live long nor eat well. So we have to be market sensitive and have to address those in our business, nonprofit business.